Welcome back. We're going to pick up where we left off in chapter 16. Okay, Ishmael. All right, now Sarai, we remember her. Abraham's wife had not been able to bear children for him, but she had an Egyptian servant named Hagar. So Sarai said to Abram, "The Lord has prevented me from having children. Go and sleep with my servant. Perhaps I can have children through her." Anyway, Abraham agreed with Sarah's proposal, of course. Abraham was like, "No, if you insist. So Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar to the Egyptian servant and gave her to Abram's wife. Blah, blah, blah. This happened 10 years after Abram had settled in the land of Canaan. So Abram had sexual relations with Hagar, and she became pregnant. But when Hagar knew she had become pregnant, she began to treat her mistress, Sarai, with contempt. Then Sarai said to Abram, "This is all your fault." Of course, this could not have possibly worked out. I put my servant into your arms, but now that she's pregnant, she treats me with contempt. The Lord will show who's wrong, you or me." Abram replied, "Look, she is your servant, so deal with her as you see fit." Then Sarai treated Hagar so harshly that she finally ran away. The angel of the Lord found Hagar beside a spring of water in the wilderness, along the road to Shur. The angel said to her, "Hagar, Sarai's servant, where have you come from, and where are you going?" Cotton Eye Joe reference there. "I'm running away from my mistress Sarai," she replied. The angel of the Lord said to her, "Return to your mistress and submit to her authority." Then he added, "I will give you more descendants than you can count." And the angel also said, "You are now pregnant and will give birth to a son. You are to name him Ishmael." This means God hears. "For the Lord has heard your cry of distress. This son of yours will be a wild man, as untamed as a wild donkey. He will raise his fists against everyone, and everyone will be against him. Yes, he will live in open hostility against all his relatives." Thereafter, Hagar used another name to refer to the Lord who had spoken to her. She said, "You are the God who sees me." She also said, "Have I truly seen the one who sees me?" So that well was named Bir Lahai Roy, which means well of the living one who sees me. What's this about a well? Wait. What's this about a well? Anyway, so Hagar gave Abraham a son, and Abraham named him Ishmael. Abram was 86 years old when Ishmael was born. Again, this is not a Bible study. This is a Bible reaction. I don't know what they're talking about with a well. We'll look into that later. Let's move on to the next one. Now, I already did this. Sorry, I got distracted. Genesis 17. Abram is named Abraham. When Abram was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to him and said, "I am El Shaddai, God Almighty. Serve me faithfully and live a blameless life. I will make a covenant with you by which I will guarantee to give you countless descendants." At this, Abram fell face down on the ground, and then God said to him, "This is my covenant with you. I will make you the father of a multitude of nations. What's more, I am changing your name. It will no longer be Abram. Instead, you will be called Abraham." It's kind of like a Pokemon. "For you will be the father of many nations. I will make you extremely fruitful. Your descendants will become many nations, and kings will be among them. I will confirm my covenant with you and your descendants after you, from generation to generation. This is the everlasting covenant. I will always be your God and the God of your descendants after you, and I will always be your God and the God of your descendants after you. And I will give the entire land of Canaan, where you now live as a foreigner, to you and your descendants. This will be their possession forever. I will be their God." The mark of the covenant. Then God said to Abraham, "Your responsibility is to obey the terms of this covenant. You and all your descendants have this continual responsibility. This is the covenant that you and your descendants must keep." Okay. So is this like the old law? You and all your descendants have this continual responsibility. This is the covenant that you and your descendants must keep. Each male among you must be circumcised. You must cut off the flesh of your foreskin as a sign of the covenant between me and you. From generation to generation, every male child must be circumcised on the 8th day after their birth. This applies not only to members of your family, but also to the servants born in your household and the foreign-born servants whom you have purchased. All must be circumcised. Your bodies will bear the mark of my everlasting covenant. Any male who fails to be circumcised will be cut off from the covenant family for breaking the covenant. Okay? Well, that's where that comes from. Sarai is named Sarah. Thank God. That's a hard one to pronounce. Then God said to Abraham, regarding Sarai, your wife, her name will no longer be retarded. From now on, she will be Sarah, and I will bless her and give you a son from her. Yes, I will bless her richly, and she will become the mother of many nations. Kings of nations will be among her descendants. Then Abraham bowed down to the ground, and he laughed to himself in disbelief. How could I become a father at the age of 100, he thought, and how could Sarah have a baby when she is 90 years old? Bro, you're talking to God. That's a weird thing. Genuinely, that's a weird thing to wonder. I mean, you're speaking to the big G. Okay, so Abraham said to God, may Ishmael live under your special blessing. But God replied, no, Sarah, your wife, will give birth to a son for you. You will name him Isaac, and I will confirm my covenant with him and his descendants as an everlasting covenant. As for Ishmael, I will bless him also, just as you have asked. I will make him extremely fruitful and multiply his descendants. He will become the father of 12 princes, and I will make him a great nation. But my covenant will be confirmed with Isaac, who will be born to you and Sarah about this time next year. When God had finished speaking, he left Abraham. On the very day Abraham took his son Ishmael and every male in his household, including those born there and those he had bought, and then he circumcised them, cutting off their foreskins just as God had told them. I bet that was a lot of fun. Abraham was 99 years old when he was circumcised. Damn. And Ishmael, his son, was 13. Both Abraham and his son Ishmael were circumcised on the same day, along with all the men and boys of their household, whether they were born there or bought as servants. All were circumcised with them. I mean, that's a... Anyway, we already read this. What? Okay, Genesis 18. A son is promised to Sarah. The Lord appeared again to Abraham near the oak grove belonging to Mamre. One day, Abraham was sitting at the entrance to his tent during the hottest part of the day. He looked up and he noticed 3 men standing nearby. When he saw them, he ran to meet them and welcomed them, bowing low to the ground. My lord, he said, if it pleases you, stop here for a while, rest in the shade of this tree, while water is brought to wash your feet. And since you've honored your servant with this visit, let me prepare some food to refresh you before you continue your journey. All right, they said. Do as you said. Do as you have said. Do as you have said. So Abraham ran back to the tent and said to Sarah, hurry, get 3 large measures of your best flour, knead it in the dough, and bake some bread. Then Abraham ran out to the herd and chose a tender calf and gave it to his servant, who quickly prepared it. When the food was ready, Abraham took some yogurt and milk and the roasted meat, and he had served it to the men. As they ate, Abraham waited on them in the shade of the trees. Where is Sarah? The visitors asked. She's in the tent, Abraham replied. Then one of them said, I will return to you about this time next year, and your wife Sarah will have a son. Sarah was listening to this conversation from the tent. Abraham and Sarah were both very old by this time, and Sarah had lived long past the age of having children. So she laughed silently to herself and said, how could a worn-out woman like me enjoy such pleasure, especially when my master, my husband, is also so old? Then the Lord said to Abraham, why did Sarah laugh? Why did she say, can an old woman like me have a baby? Is anything too hard for the Lord? I will return about this time next year, and Sarah will have a son. Sarah was afraid, so she denied it. She said, I didn't laugh. But the Lord said, no, you did. What is this, like, casual back and forth with God? I wonder how Anyway, Abraham intercedes for Sodom. Then the men got up from their meal, and they looked out toward Sodom. As they left, Abraham went with them to send them out on their way. Should I hide my plan for Abraham, the Lord asked? For Abraham will certainly become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth will be blessed through him. I have singled him out, so he will direct his sons and their families to keep the way of the Lord by doing what is right and trust them. Then I will do for Abraham all that I have promised. So the Lord told Abraham, I have heard a great outcry from Sodom and Gomorrah. Because their sin is so flagrant, I'm going down there to see if their actions are as wicked as I've heard. If not, I want to know. The other men turned and headed toward Sodom, but the Lord remained with Abraham. Abraham approached him and said, will you sweep away both the righteous and the wicked? Suppose you find 50 righteous people living there. Will you sweep it away and not spare it for their sakes? Surely you wouldn't do something so bad, destroying the righteous with the wicked. Why would you be treating the righteous as the wicked exactly the same? Surely you wouldn't do that. Should not the judge of the earth do what is right? And the Lord replied, if I find 50, I'll spare the entire city. Then Abraham spoke again. Since I have begun, let me speak further. What if you find 45? And God said, all right, fine. Yeah, then he says, don't be angry, but let me speak one more thing. What if it was 30? And the Lord says, okay, 30's fine. Then he goes even further. What about 20? I mean, I feel like this is a lot, back and forth. They withered it all the way down to the number of 10. When the Lord had finished his conversation with Abraham, he went on his way, and Abraham returned to his tent. Okay. 19. Sodom and Gomorrah is destroyed. That evening, the two angels came to the entrance of the city of Sodom. Lot was sitting there, and then he saw them. He stood up to meet them. When he welcomed them, he bowed with his face to the ground. My lords, he said, come to my home to wash your feet and be my guests for the night. You may then get up early in the morning and then be on your way again. Oh no, they replied. We'll just spend the night out here in the city square. But Lot insisted. So at last they went home with him. Lot made food for him, complete with fresh bread made without yeast, and they ate. But before they retired for the night, all the men of Sodom, young and old, came from all over the city and surrounded the house. They shouted to Lot, where are the men who came to spend the night with you? Bring them out to us so we can have sex with them. So Lot stepped outside to talk to him, shutting the door behind him. Please, my brothers, she begged, do not do such a wicked thing. Look, I have 2 virgin daughters. Take them. But please, leave these men alone, for they are my guests. Stand back, they shouted. The fellow came back town as an outsider, and then acting like our judge. This fellow came to our town as an outsider, and now he's acting like our judge. We would treat you far worse than this other men. And they lunged towards Lot to break down the door. But the 2 angels reached out, they pulled Lot into the house, and they bolted the door. Then they blinded all the men. So they gave up. Anyway, meanwhile, the angels questioned Lot. Do you have any other relatives here in this city? They asked. Get them out of this place. Your son-in-laws, daughters, sons, anyone else. For we are about to destroy we're about to blow this popsicle stand. So Lot rushed out to tell his daughter's fiancés, quick, let's get out of here. The young men thought he was joking. At dawn the next morning, the angels became insistent. No, for real, big dog, let's get out of here. Get out right now, or you'll be swept away. When Lot still hesitated, the angel seized his hands, rushed them to safety outside of the city, for Lot was merciful. When they were safely outside of the city, one of the angels ordered, run for your lives. Do not look back or stop anywhere into the valley. If you escape into the mountains, you will be swept away. Oh no, my lord, Lot begged. You have been so gracious to me and saved my life, and you have shown such kindness. But I cannot go out to the mountains. Disaster would catch up to me there, and I would die. See, there's a small village thereby. Can I just go there instead? Don't you see how small it is? And my life will be saved. All right, the angel said. That's cool. I won't destroy the little village. But hurry, escape to it for something I can do till you arrive there. This explains why that village was known as a little place. Lot reached the little place just as the sun was rising over the horizon. Then the Lord rained down fire and burning sulfur from the sky onto Sodom and Gomorrah. He utterly destroyed them along with the other cities and villages in that plain, wiping out all the people and every bit of vegetation. But Lot's wife looked back as she was following behind them. She turned into a pillar of salt. Abraham got up early that morning and hurried out to the place where he stored in the Lord's presence. He looked out across the plain toward Sodom and Gomorrah. Columns of smoke raised. God listened to Abraham's request. He kept Lot safe, removing him from that disaster. Kind of just brushed past his wife dying. Anyway, Lot and his daughters, after they left the little town, because they were afraid of the people there, he went to live in a cave in the mountains with his 2 daughters. One day, the older daughter said, there's no men left anywhere in this area, so we can't get married, and our father will be too old to have kids. Come on, let's get him drunk and have sex with him. That way we will preserve our family line through our father. So that night they got him drunk with wine, and the older daughter went in and had intercourse with her father. He was unaware of her lying down or getting up again. The next morning, I want to get past this part. The next morning, the older daughter said to her younger sister, I had sex with our father last night. Let's get him drunk with wine again tonight, and this time you go in and have sex with him. I feel like this time, the jig is up. That night they got him drunk with wine again, and the younger daughter had... Okay. I don't know about this book. As a result, both of Lot's daughters became pregnant by their own father. When the older daughter gave birth to a son named Moab, he became the ancestor of the nation known as the Moabites. When the younger daughter gave birth to a son named Ben-Ami, he became an ancestor to the nation known as the Ammonites. All right, that's over. Genesis 20. Abraham deceives Abimelech. Abraham moved south to Negev and lived for a while between Kadesh and Shur. Then he moved out to Gerar. While living there as a foreigner, Abraham induced his wife, Sarah, by saying, she is my sister. Here we go again. So King Abimelech of Gerar sent for Sarah and brought her to him at his palace. But that night God came to Abi in a dream and said, you are a dead man, for that woman you have taken is already married. But Abi had not slept with her yet, so he said, Lord, will you destroy an innocent nation? Didn't Abraham tell me she's my sister? And she herself said, this guy's doing this more than once. It's weird. I acted complete innocence, my hands are clean. In the dream, God responded, all right, I know you're innocent, and that's why I kept you from sinning against me. and why I didn't let you touch her. Now return this woman to her husband, and he will pray for you, for he is a prophet. And then you will live. He is a prophet. I like that. Making it pretty clear. That's the first time they've mentioned that word, or that anybody is a prophet. Then you will live, but if you don't return her to him, you can be sure that you and all your people will die. Ab got up early the next morning and quickly called all of his servants together. When he told them what happened, the men were terrified, and then Ab called for Abraham. What have you done to us, he demanded. What crime have I committed to deserve something like this? Making me and my kingdom guilty of this? No one should ever do what you have done. Yeah, this isn't the first time. You're not the first one to have this problem, baby. What possessed you to do such a thing? Abraham replied, this is a godless place. They want my wife, and they want to kill me. This guy he doesn't seem to understand the nature of his prophetness or whatever. Like, I feel like he's good. Anyway. We're the same father, different mothers, and I married her when God called me to leave my father's home. Okay, wait, what was that? Abraham replied, I thought this is a godless place. They will want my wife and will kill me to get her. And she really is my sister, for we both have the same father, but different mothers. And I married her. What? This is a weird book. When God called me to leave my father's home and travel from place to place, I told her, do me a favor. Wherever we go, let's tell everybody that you're my brother, that I'm your brother. Then Ab took some of his sheep and goats and cattle and male and female servants, and he presented them to Abraham, and he returned his wife Sarah to him. Then Ab said, look over my land and choose a place where you would like to live. And he said to Sarah, look, I'm giving you your brother. I'm giving your brother 1,000 pieces of silver in the presence of all these witnesses. This is to compensate you for any wrong that I may have done to you. This will settle any claim against me, and your reputation is cleared. And then Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Ab and his wife and his female servants, so that they could have children. For the Lord had caused all the women to be infertile because of what had happened with Abraham's wife. Yeah, I don't know where this lore comes from, but I'm pretty sure prophets don't just... The bad things can't just happen. They're, like, protected, right? Anyway. Alright. That is Genesis... That was the Genesis 20. Alright, cool. See you tomorrow. Bye. A lot of incest in that one.